America, welcome. I'm Dale Campbell. I'm here with Cliff Blodgett, best-selling author, and welcome to another Power Pack episode. Let's go, Clifford.
The topic for today's episode, got my little notes here, is political derangement syndrome. And it's causing us to have jacked up anxiety, and it causes us to upset family members and friends around us. Let me explain what this political derangement syndrome is. I'll give you some examples. It's generally where people start believing mindless nonsense that's fed to them, and usually it's through social media or mainstream media, through the news, and then social media amplifies it. To give you an example, Trump is now in power. So a lot of people are having anxiety because of that. Maybe they supported the Democrats and now they feel like they have a loss of power. I have family members that are saying that they heard that Trump's real agenda is to bring back slavery. They keep hearing this on social media. When the stuff comes up, he'll just let it go, whether it's supporting the white supremacist groups or whatever. But there's a big difference between not disavowing and full-on support of bringing back slavery. Those are two different things. And so I said, okay, to be fair, let me do some searches on the internet and let me use AI. So I searched, and there's no credible evidence that he has plans to bring back slavery. But people are absolutely hysterical about that. But flipping to the other side, when Biden was in power, you had a lot of conservatives listening to their social media, and they were absolutely convinced that Biden had some sort of agenda. The U.S. government was going to start funding sex change operations for children to be performed without parents' consent or knowledge. And I'm like, okay, that sounds crazy. That's about as crazy as Trump bringing back slavery. And you could say there's evidence that Biden supports LGBTQ agenda, okay, but that doesn't mean that they're going to make sex change operations available to little children in public schools. This is more of this hysteria. It's derangement is what it is. It gets deeper than that.
Clifford,
and
I got
another
question
one.
here, right quick.
Okay.
But when you say slavery, what exactly do you mean by slavery?
This is the thing that they're promoting. And I don't know what's going through these people's mind, but when you have this kind of derangement, or in the case of the media, the social media, they know what they're provoking. So I think the people that come up with these things, they may even be using artificial intelligence to come up with this stuff, because you can ask AI what would upset people more than any other thing and how to phrase it so it will have maximum anxiety. And I think this is what they're doing. In the case of the slavery thing, I think they're trying to pit people against each other and cause a racial divide. That's a hot button. Pushing people's buttons is the thing. When you push people's buttons, it's a really nasty way to get a lot of social media exposure. There's a history of this. They promoted these ideas that Bill and Hillary were pedophiles and that they bought a pizza parlor. And this whole thing, if you want to research it, it was called Pizzagate. And that they would go and lure little children into the pizza parlor and commit pedophile acts on these little children, and then they would murder them. And then they would cut these children up into little pieces, put them on the pizza, and then serve these pizzas to the public through the drive-thru. Hillary and Bill were in there doing that. This is the kind of insanity you're talking about with this political derangement syndrome. You had people that believed this stuff. They were absolutely convinced that Bill and Hillary were sodomizing little kids and then cutting them up into little pieces, cannibalism, and then putting them on pizza.
That's
and
unheard
then,
of.
and here's another one. The federal government laced the water supply with nanites, like nanoparticles, and that everybody had these nanoparticles in their bodies, and at any given time they could activate these nanoparticles using 5G cell phone signals and have total mind control over the population.
If you had a drink of water, the nanos was in your system.
Right. And then when the government wanted to take control of you through mind control, they would use 5G cell phone towers to send out millimeter waves, which would activate the nanoparticles and make you into some sort of mind control zombie.
And so, with that being said, so your eyes have changed colors. Yep, we got them. Made them went from gray to whatever color that they have. So once they do that, they control you, and you're like, okay, You don't even know what you're doing.
Supposedly. So I was traveling back and forth during this time period to visit my parents up in Oregon. So I was driving from Texas. We'd be in campsites, boondocking and everything. And it's fun to talk to people. And I can't tell you how many people I met along the road who were emphatically warning me about 5G and nanoparticles. I met people that believe Pizzagate too.
That's crazy.
So, and they had death threats because of it.
Who
Kids.
covered the Pizzagate? What national television show covered Pizzagate?
A lot. It was on the news media and a large amount of social media. This is funny if you're not a victim of this. But to the people that believe this stuff, that's the whole point of what I keep telling people is to go from core knowledge and stop believing this stuff. Because if you know nothing, you can be led to believe anything. People need to know something, which requires work. You can't just flip on the TV or open up your phone and start looking at social media. Exactly. Because you're basically putting yourself in position where you could be taken advantage of. And these people have genuine anxiety because of this. And when you point out that this stuff is deranged to people, when you say, hold on, this doesn't sound right, when they're telling you about Pizzagate or the government funding sex change operations in the schools. When you hear somebody say that, you have to be sensitive to the anxiety that a person's going through, because they've got part of their brain that's hearing it and making them all cranked up. And then they got part of their brain that knows this isn't right. And there's a conflict going on there. And so you have to have a little bit of empathy, because it's easy to get irritated. What on earth are you talking about? Are you out of your mind? When I can, I try to listen to what they're saying and then repeat it back to them and say, does that sound right to you? Do you really think that sounds like it's plausible? And sometimes they'll catch themselves or they'll calm down. Sometimes it's just too much. Sometimes you've got to just change the subject.
But we're coming to an end here on this session. Anything you'd like to close out with?
Political derangement has its roots in identity politics and tribalism and people not having core knowledge. It's the lazy way out. To just click on social media and think you're getting knowledge, and whatever they say, you just believe it.
America, we had a good time with you tonight. We enjoyed you. Once again, actual factual. You can only get them from Power to Thrive. Hit the subscribe button. And keep in mind, I can take you to water, but I can't make you drink it. Have a good night, America. Bye.
Night.